Cool, let's get straight into the video. No intro, no nothing. Basically, I'm going to be talking about my mental health while you watch me draw dream, basically. So yeah, hope you enjoy this. Don't know if there'll be more of these. Basically, straight into the video, I'm not seeing my counsellors anymore. I was originally seeing counsellors for mental health issues due to my hypochondria. I know most people go on YouTube to talk about their mental health issues. Don't worry, I'm not at risk. I just get very scared and... not scared. I may be scared. I'm very anxious, very nervous around the ideas of getting ill, especially with everyone around me getting ill or have gone ill recently, and it's really affected me. Especially coronavirus wise. Yeah, has not been a fun time. Not been a fun time for anyone. I've been so nervous. There was like points where I just would not go outside simply just because of fear. I think everyone got to a point of that. It really hits home that point. I don't really know. This is not going to be a structured video. I know last time I said if I do another art video, it will be a structured video. But this one isn't. This one isn't going to be a structured video at all. I was on my bed talking to myself, and I was like, why am I talking to myself? Why don't I just come here, record the audio, and then draw? So yeah, I'm doing that. Very little editing, if any. You're probably going to hear everything. Like me playing with my hair, the gulps, the awkward pauses. I might edit some of them out if it's really that bad. If not, I'll keep them in and you will never know which one it was. So I'm going to talk about why I have hypochondria. If you don't know what hypochondria is, it's basically the feeling of anxiety when it comes to getting ill. I get very anxious when it comes to getting ill, or the idea of getting ill, or germs, or anything along those lines. And you can imagine how coronavirus has been this way. But actually, believe it or not, coronavirus is not the reason I'm suffering with hypochondria. So I'm going to talk to you about why I'm suffering with hypochondria. I don't think I've ever explained to anyone the start to end of how I got ill in the first place. Basically, if you do not know, I am ill. I have tuberculosis, and I've had it for a long time. I've had it for about I've had it a lot longer than 9 months. I've had it for over a year. I've had it for 13 months. Basically, it starts February, so before lockdown was even a thing, before coronavirus properly came to the UK, and before schools all shut down, I had tuberculosis. And I didn't know I had tuberculosis. No one knows how I got it, though if I find out, I'm going to bloody beat the bugger. And, yeah. So basically, I got very ill, but I didn't know how I got ill. It kind of came as like a sore back I had. I got tired very easily. I got tired very easily. I was very weak, though I've never been the most bulkiest lad. I did start to lose weight, but nowhere near as much as I have now. And yeah, I got like a strange pain in my back, which if you have had tuberculosis before, you know that it is not something you often have in your spine. Depending who you talk to. Other people who I've talked to say it is a common thing to have in your spine, but other people say it's not. So, I don't know. Let me know if you've had this. I also wonder if this YouTube video is going to get publicized or not. I wonder if I'm going to actually public it. I don't know. I do not know. I might not keep that in the video. It's basically to carry on with my story. I got ill February 2020. It was really that year. Of course it was that year. Everything bad happened in that year. So I got really ill. And for the next 6 months, I got worse and worse. I would have random, what I call jolts, which were like back pains, which were so bad, I would drop to the floor in some cases. And my family thought I was having it on. My family thought I was joking. They thought I was kind of like, even though I'm at college and I'm like doing good at college, I'm top of my class, they thought I was doing this to get out of college, or I don't know what they really thought. They thought I was just faking it. I was being like overly dramatic. I don't know why they thought I was just being overly dramatic. But yeah, it hurt a lot, and my family obviously weren't taking it too seriously. I got very tired very easily. I couldn't walk very far. Yeah, basically my hometown was extremely small, and I would get exhausted walking from one area to another. And because my hometown was so small, it was really weird why I was getting so tired. Not to mention I was losing weight. And throughout February to June, I went to the doctor's, my GP service, every single week, 6 months. I went to my GP practice every single day for 6 months. And every single time they would tell me I was fine. There was something else. I came there about my lymph nodes because I had a lot of lymph nodes swell up. And I was worried because obviously that's a sign of the big C. So I was paranoid. And I went there and they told me, no, it's nothing. You're fine. It's probably just swollen because of foot infection. And I'm like, bitch, I don't got a foot infection. What the fuck? And yeah, well, they just sent me on my way. And it would keep on happening. Like I'll be able to feel a lump, which I later found out was fluid underneath my body, and they would tell me that it was nothing, that it was probably just a like a stress lump, and my mom was telling me that it's probably just a stress lump or a random lump on your body that happens. Everyone gets them, and no one really knows why. And I just choked that one down because part of me didn't believe it, but at the same time, it's like, it's better than thinking you're really ill and not doing anything about it. And yeah, I was very weak. I was having back pains. I would drop to the ground, and then I started coughing up blood, which is a nasty thing, and I'm sorry. But yeah, I started coughing up blood, and I got very scared about this. My friends got so annoyed because I called them Frank. I called them. I was like shitting myself, so I just called them like scared shitless, and they would be like, "Declan, it's like 1 o'clock at night. Leave me alone." I'm actually recording this at 3 o'clock at night, so yeah, I coughed up blood. Not much blood, but I was doing it a few times. I did it like 3 or 4 times, and so I went to the GP like I did every week, and I told them that I was coughing up blood. And they were like, "Oh, that's strange. We're going to go and get you an x-ray." And I was like, "Oh, cool, thank you." And so after 6 months of going every week, and I did go every week, I promise you that, and I finally got an x-ray. And my x-ray was 2 weeks later. So I waited those 2 weeks patiently, and during this time I still coughed up blood. But I didn't really vocalize it. I remember I went on this not date with a good friend of mine, and we were having a very lovely picnic, and I coughed up blood during it. I was very embarrassed. I walked away to cough the blood up, and then I was like, "Oh fucking hell, I feel like shit." And I just walked back, and I was like, "Hi." So embarrassing. But she didn't actually know I did it, which is very nice. Anyway, back to the story. I had my x-ray. I went in for my x-ray. It was very simple, very quick and easy. I then went on my way. And I then went to see my nan the next day. I went to go see my nan and do some chores for her. And while I was doing some chores for her, I got a call from the hospital saying, "What is my current location? They are sending an ambulance." So I shitting myself. I was like, "Oh my god, what, really?" I'm really struggling saying this all, by the way. I really am struggling. I'm pausing so much. This is actually going to be quite a hard edit to do to make all of this make sense. Anyway, back to it. So yeah, I was shitting myself at my nan's because an ambulance was coming. I was calling my parents saying, "Hey, I need to get a bag ready because I'm going to be in the hospital soon, I think." And they told me to pack a bag. Anyway, my mum was like, "Can I come?" And the doctors were like, "No, she cannot come." Anyway, I was at the hospital and it was horrible. I've never spent a night at a hospital ever before that. And it was my first time and it was horrible. This was in June 2020. I had 7 blood tests. I had a CT scan. I had an X-ray. I had a like what they do to pregnant women. I can't really remember what it's called, but it's like some sort of scan. I had everything happen to me. I had a prostate exam, not fun. It was so much. There was so much done to me. I was like, had a cannula put in my arm. I had medication pumped through me, painkillers. It was awful. Awful, awful, awful. I fucking hated it so much. And then I had to spend the night there. I struggled very hard. I am terrified of hospitals now. Like, I am petrified of hospitals. That experience has given me a phobia of hospitals because I cannot cope with the idea of it. And yeah, I just remember that night was really horrible. And because I was in such a weird situation, I had someone check on me every 3 hours, I think it was. Every 3 hours I had someone check on me. They would just like, sometimes they would just pop their head, be like, how am I doing? Other times they would take my temperature, which I think is like something they have to do to everyone in the hospital. But yeah, I was on my own at this point. I had a COVID test. It was not COVID, before anyone asks. Though I have caught COVID. That's another story for another day. And yeah, basically that was horrible. Second day in, I had someone come in and they told me, hey, hello Declan, we need to tell you this is actually quite bad. So you have fluid in your lung, you have fluid pockets around your lung, around your chest and abdomen. You also have 2 huge fluid gaps which you can feel, like you could physically feel on the outside the fluid swish on both of my hips. There was fluid in between my spine, fluid on my neck bone, like the fluid actually was attached to my neck bone, and all sorts of shit like this. And they were like, the reason you're dropping to the ground so often is because there's a huge fluid pocket against your spine, not to mention with the ones in between my spinal plates. And yeah, so we understand what's causing the issue, but we don't understand what it is. So they understand the fluid was causing the issue, but they don't understand why I had fluid there. And so they were like, we need a sample. And that was the most anxiety-inducing sentence I have ever fucking heard in my fucking life. We need a sample is the worst fucking thing I've ever fucking heard. I've just hit my mic. Yeah, and it's awful. Awful, because what they then said is that we don't have time. We don't have fucking time to go down to the surgery thing, get an actual person in to remove the sample. So what we need to do is we need to do it right here, right now. And I'm like, okay, what? And it was like, it's simple enough. We're just going to cut your side open and get a bit of the fluid to test on. And I'm like, okay. And I don't really know how to phase it. So they were like, alright, we're going to give you a few minutes. And I was like, alright, a few minutes. And I breathed. I was very anxious. I texted my mom. My mom was she was calling me so much during this. And I was like, I can't answer. And then basically a shit ton of people walked in the room, all with face masks on, because again, COVID and everything. And with these huge machines and everything. And they were like, what we're going to do is we're going to give you some, like a painkiller, like local anesthetic, I think it's called. Sorry. I'm very nervous. I'm going to slow down a bit. So they gave me local anesthetic. And I'm like, okay, sure. That's cool. It was not cool. I can tell you that now. It was not cool at all. Because I was like, can you just knock me out? Do I have to be conscious for it? Can I just have like some knockout gas? And they said, no. Because we were going to open your chest, and if you breathe while you're knocked out, which everyone breathes when they're knocked out or asleep, we're going to get air inside your body where air should not be inside your body. I don't know if they actually went inside my lung. I think they said they were going to, but I don't think they cut into my lung. I think they just cut into my ribs. Mind you, I am a very, very skinny man, so there is basically no difference. And they just grabbed like one of the fluid pockets around me, but I don't actually know exactly what happened. I grit my teeth and I was like, okay, I'm going to have to just grin and bear this. So I just grabbed my bed sheets, went on my side, they put in the local anaesthetic 3 times, and I still felt it. I remember they were like, alright, we're going to give you local anaesthetic, and I was like, can I have a bit more, please? And they gave me a bit more, and I was like, can I have a bit more, please? And they were like, okay, cool. And then they put the knife on, and I felt it. Not as badly as I would have felt it, I'm assuming, but I felt it still the same, and it was fucking horrible. I felt the knife fucking cut me, and it was such a stinging sensation. It was like, it was not like a paper cut. It was rougher than a paper cut. I don't know how to phrase it, but it was awful. And during all of this, I can't breathe, because if I breathe, I'm gonna breathe in air where there should not be air. So it might actually have been to my lung, but I'm not actually certain. Anyway, I was so scared. I was so scared, and this is awful. I've actually still have nightmares to this day. I have fucking nightmares. I am 20 years old. I have nightmares. My mates in a group chat, when I was explaining this all to them, were simply like, oh yeah, well, I could have done that. I would have done that easy. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. This was the worst fucking thing at the moment. It's probably still the worst fucking thing. I got very emotional during all that. My throat is very dry. I got a bit of a sore throat. But yeah, I got very emotional during it all. They removed the fluid. I saw it. It was pink. It was gross. I hated it. And yeah, so 6 days went by. I then left the COVID ward because obviously I didn't have COVID, and they then put me into a shared ward with a bunch of other people with chest, not infections, but like chest issues. One person next to me, who was a very kind man, before I went to uni, he actually gave me a lot of advice about like what I should buy. He told me to buy like a slow cooker, so you could just put vegetables in it, and they would cook slowly over time, and I would like grab the vegetables when I want it. I kind of did this tactic, but with fruit salad, where I made a bowl of fruit salad, and I just came at it a few times, and just like, you just go to the fruit salad and you grab a bit of the fruit salad and you just eat that fruit salad. It was nice. I kind of used this idea, though I was not going to spend the money on a slow cooker. What happened next was about 6 days later. 6 days later, I then got told by the doctors, but hello, we are gonna need another sample. The sample we got from you was useless. We have no fucking idea what's wrong with you. And I'm just there like, no. I was straight up like, I will leave the hospital. I will get up right now and I will leave. And they were like, oh, well, we need it, and we're gonna need it from your spine. We're gonna take it from the huge pocket at your spine. And I'm like, what? And I was scared shitless. The nurses looking after me were told not to let me go for a walk, just in case I didn't come back, because they were so worried of me doing a runner. And I full on was going to do a runner, because I had to wait 2 days for the fucking person to come in for it, because they needed a specialist. So I had a specialist from Bristol come down to do it. He, basically what happened is I went in, and I told them last time I didn't have enough local anesthetic, and I could feel it, and it was fucking horrible. And they were like, okay, cool. So what I had to do is I had to do this during a CT scan. So I was in and out of the CT scan, so they could get the fluid from the right area and not cause any muscle damage. This scared me shitless, because I potentially could get permanent muscle damage. I had to sign a contract that I couldn't sue them if they fucked up and gave me permanent muscle damage. And I'm so scared, because they'll have a knife to my spine. Later I found out it wasn't a knife, and it was a fucking drill. Yeah, basically they needed a bit of the fluid, and they chose the bit of the fluid which attached to my spine. So they just took a part of the spine with it, because it was stuck there. So yeah, that was cool. Or not cool, in my case, which I personally do not find that cool. Anyway, so I lie down on there. I was in and out of the CT scan. Luckily I had enough local anesthetic, so even though they were going at me with a drill, all I had to do was close my eyes, and all I could do was feel pressure. It kind of felt like someone was like pushing, like put one hand on your leg, put the other hand on your leg, and push. That's what it felt like. You knew it was happening, but it was nowhere near worse, which kind of made the first example so much worse, because I actually knew what it could have been like if I just had the courage and wasn't so timid to speak up. I could have just been like, "Hey doctor, I need another injection, mate. Please. It hurts." But I was too timid and too scared, so I didn't do it. And it took quite a while for it to come back. And when it did come back, I wasn't told straight away. I was simply just like, "Hey, we need to get you into your own room straight away." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Can I ask why?" And they were like, "Not yet. Just get straight into your own room, please." And yeah, so the man who was with me, the man right next to me, the man who kept me company night and day, whom I spent about fucking a shit ton of time with, I was like, I can see. Which is kind of hard, because during a time when you can't have visitors, the people having a shared room is an experience you kind of need to get through it. He was such a nice man, and he really helped me. He really helped me during that tough time. He was telling me how he was a veteran and how he does it all the time, and having something like that kind of definitely got me through it. And so to be told I was going in my own room was kind of good news, because again, I could have my own bathroom, I could have my own privacy, and yeah, it was kind of nice. I didn't have to put in my headphones when watching TV, but at the same time, you're kind of losing the company when you have so little company around. And they put me in my own room and they told me, "We think you have tuberculosis." And I'm like, "What? You think I have what now?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they explained to me what it is, because I don't know what the fuck it is. So basically, the tuberculosis jab is not done in the UK anymore. It got discontinued in 2005, when I should have got vaccinated in 2013, when I was 13 years old. So I missed the vaccination by 8 years. And because I missed the vaccination, because it's no longer discontinued, don't think I'm anti-vax, I'm very much vaccinated. I'm very much for vaccinations now. Because I missed that vaccination, I got very, very fucking ill. Very ill, to the state where I would drop to the fucking ground and was coughing up blood. So yeah, get your kids vaccinated. I got autism and I wasn't, so shut the fuck up. So yeah, now we know what was wrong with me. The issue is, I had to write a list of people down who I've been in contact with. So during while I was ill, I was intimate with one person. I was very close to another person. This person would like drive me to places, and she was a very good friend. She's the picnic date person I previously mentioned. And yeah, and I had to put down all my friends and family. So I had to put them all down, and they would all get tested. Even my nieces and nephews, who I barely saw, would have to get tested. And it was awful, 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 awful. Though it was lucky enough that it was like during coronavirus time, when schools were stopped, because I didn't have to put down my whole school, my whole university, my whole college, So yeah, I guess that's at least a blessing in disguise, I guess. Not really, but it's something. And they all had to get tested. Everyone came back negative, which is very good, except my little sister. Though she definitely did not let me live it down. She gave me a bit of hell. I felt so guilty for it, but at the same time, it's not like I purposely did it. It's not like I went out without face masks. Who thinks they have tuberculosis? I didn't even know what fucking tuberculosis was during all of this. Anyway, because of this, I got my sister ill with tuberculosis. I don't know how. We probably shared the same fucking drink or something. I don't know. We were spending so much time together because coronavirus. It was bound to happen, I guess. Yeah, one girl I was sleeping with, was simply enough like, "Hello, I am not going to get this. Leave me alone." And I'm just like, what am I meant to do? So I was talking to my doctors and I was like, hey, what am I meant to do? She doesn't want to come in for it, the test. How am I meant to, what am I meant to do? And they're simply enough like, do you know her address or anything like that? I'm like, no. And they were like, well, we can't do anything then. If they don't want help, we can't help them. And I'm like, okay, cool. And that was it. I'm not going to say who she is, but I definitely know I'm not going to hang out with her anymore. Because that really annoyed me. That really fucking annoyed me. Also, her dad was the doctor who misdiagnosed me multiple times. Don't get me wrong, there were plenty of doctors who misdiagnosed me, but her dad was one of them. And I fucking hate him for that. I hate her fucking dad for that. He's such a stupid fucking man and should not work as a doctor. This is all complete bias. Don't get me wrong. It's completely bias because I had a bad experience. But I don't care. I had a bad experience and I do not want him ever again. When I call that GP service for help, when I'm back home, I simply enough tell them I do not want him because he is incompetent. Actually, I don't say the incompetent, but I wish I do. Anyway, as you might know, tuberculosis is spreadable. So what I had to do is I had to take meds, like a very, very strong dose of medication. And I basically was in the hospital during the whole time because I had to isolate. I was able to get sent home, though I had to isolate within the house. It was kind of like having coronavirus, but it wasn't a coronavirus because you couldn't go outside or meet anyone or anything like that. And so yeah, it was a really strange time, to be honest. I felt very guilty about getting my friends ill. I was very worried because again, I had tuberculosis and it was spreadable, and I was in a ward next to people, spending time with people for days and days who have chest problems. So I felt personally really guilty, and I've never talked to any of them ever since then. But I am terrified that I got one of them ill, and I don't know if I did. I hope not. I really hope not. Though I've heard that there was a small outbreak of it. So I don't know if I was the one who started it or someone else was the one who started it. Like, someone gave it to me, but we don't know who gave it to me. Anyway, long story short, I was very ill, and after my coming to near to the end, I was very ill, and I spent the time in the hospital, and I finally got to go home. I was so happy seeing everyone, and my mom and dad were fucking distraught. My dad was so fucking angry at just everything and just at life. He was so angry and he was so sad, and it broke my little heart. And my mom was in fucking shambles, and that broke my little fucking heart. Yeah. I then, lucky enough, was able to go to uni. I remember I was stressing so much to the doctors. It was like June, I was in the hospital, and I was like, I am going to be able to get out in time for hospital. I am going to get out for time of uni, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course you are. And it was like, well, hopefully you are. And I was like, fucking hell, please let me get to uni. I know I was fine. I got a certificate. I'm allowed to be here. It's perfectly fine. No one's going to get ill. Though I got my medicine, and I was maybe on my medicine until December. I was meant to be on my medicine till, which is not a bad time, to be honest. Like, it was a couple of months and it was going to be hard, and I had like these really strong medications which made me like almost sick, actually sick a few times. But when I was on the easier medication, it became very easy, and it became very easy and it wasn't as hard, and I was enjoying university. And then I got coronavirus, which is a whole different story, and I'll probably tell it when I'm not living with the people I'm living with currently, so in about like 2 months maybe. And December finally came, and I got cool. They asked me, have I spent any time near bovines? And this was my respiratory nurses, they called me. Yes, I have nurses now, cool notes. And I was like, no. And they were like, okay. Have you spent any time near wildlife, any sort of like that? And I was like, no. We went to a petting zoo once, and they were like, no, it wouldn't be that. And I'm like, sorry, what's this all about? And they were like, your tuberculosis, your type of tuberculosis is bovine tuberculosis. And I'm like, really? What's that? And they're like, well, basically, it's just a different type of tuberculosis, which lasts a lot longer. Fucking great. So I had to deal with that now, which was a fucking nightmare. And, yeah. Basically, all that meant was I was on medication for a lot longer. A lot longer. They were thinking until April. And I'm saying this in April, right now. It's not till April. It's not till April. We are living in April, and I'm not off it. I'm not going to get off it. So yeah, basically, it basically got like worse. While I was feeling better, the tuberculosis was still very much there, and the fluid was still very much there. In January, I went in to the doctors for my checkup, and then I was called back into hospital, where I spent a couple nights in hospital because it was extremely bad. I'm cutting over a lot of key information, or I'm just going to edit out information where I'm upset over, and you can go fuck yourself. Yeah. So basically, I was then January of 2021, I was then back in the hospital for a checkup, and then I was staying overnight at the hospital because it was very bad. And I was then told by the respiratory team that I have smoke damage, which is obviously done by... I don't actually know if I can say this on the internet, but yeah. I was not smoking, but yeah. I had smoke damage on my lung. And because of this, they told me I will never be able to smoke anything, and I have to be careful near car fumes, because my lung is just very weak with the fluid and the smoking damage and everything like that. And then they dropped the real bomb to me. My spinal team said this will be the last time they will see me, and they said that my spine is going to degrade over time. Basically, what's going to happen is my spine is going to start to fall. It's kind of like taking place. Like, you could feel my spine on the outside. My spine, like where the fluid is, has now locked to defend against the fluid. So my spinal plane is now locked up, which means my spine will be like permanently locked, meaning the flexibility of my spine simply won't be there. They said it's a very low chance this never happens, though if I do certain things, such as buy a back brace, exercise, do my stretches every now and then, or every day, I could hopefully put this off to at least later life, or hopefully, if I'm very, very lucky, never get it at all. And I've been doing my exercises. I haven't really been going for walks as much as I should. I mean, I go to walks to my local Lidl, but that's like 5 minutes away. But yeah, and so yeah, even when I do defeat this illness, which at the moment, I'm going off my meds at the moment in March 2022 on the 2nd, so like almost a year, I will be finally off my meds. And yeah, in March 2022 I'll be off my meds, and somewhere hopefully very, very long down the time. Now at the moment it's something around 20 to 30 years, which 20 to 30 years, 40 to 50, I can live with that. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, my spine will lock up. And over time, like when they first told me it, I was fucking distraught. And I was just making jokes about it. But actually saying it out loud, I'm actually starting to tear up. Because it doesn't feel like something will happen to me. It doesn't feel like something will happen to me. It feels like something that happens to people in movies. Or people you see on the news. it doesn't feel like something that happens to me. And I hope it never does happen to me. Because something I'm very worried about is that I'm on my own at the moment. I'm very worried about what happens if I don't find someone before that time. Or what happens if I do? Say like 20 to 30 years and I have a partner. 20 to 30 years, they're going to have to fucking care for me. Imagine knowing this information right now, going to your like girlfriend or anything like that. Would you tell them? Would you be like, hey, in 20 to 30 years, I'm going to be in a fucking wheelchair. My spine is going to lock up and I won't be able to fucking move it. Like, what would you do? Would you tell him? Would you tell him? Do you like, what am I meant to do? This is like kind of like ramble because I actually do not know what to do. I've asked my mates, what should I do? And they're just like, man, it's down the line. It might not ever happen. Try not to worry about it. But if it does lock up, you know, I'm going to be in a fucking wheelchair. You're going to have to look after me. It's kind of like, even though it might happen, even though it might not happen, both are equally going to happen. Like, it happening and it might not happening are both up in the air. No one really knows. So it's hard to go to someone and be like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And be like, well, do you want to have to look after me? I don't want to be like looked after. But I don't really have a fucking option at this point. I don't really know. That's a question for the future. A question I'm not going to answer right now. Hopefully I find someone and they're willing to take that dice roll with me. Yeah, March 22. March of 2022. Looks like I'm going to end my treatment. Sorry for such an emotional video. I got very upset during this. I'm very much struggling with words. Very much got teary. Very much got choked up. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this very personal video. I'm just going to clear out and edit out some of the empty gaps and some of the times I said my home addresses, or some of the times I repeat to myself. Or maybe the times I've been itching my head during this entire video because I'm nervous, and that's something I do. But yeah, currently I do not have a counsellor, so I don't know if I'm going to make more of these videos. Personally, I kind of feel nice saying all of this. And that being said, goodbye.